Quick sound check. Can everybody hear me loud and clear? Let's get a sound confirmation in the chat. Hopefully, everybody had a good start to your week. Happy Monday. Got a yes, sir, from J Trades. Sounds good. What did I say? Spencer, hopefully you can hear me and you're just joking. But welcome everyone. Thank you, Andrew, for the confirmation as well. Coach Paul will be joining us in just a couple minutes. He should be back soon. But welcome everyone to At the Buzzer, our market recap. If this is your first time here, I'm Coach Jay. Been a Topstep Performance Coach for a little over a year and been trading for the last 12 years, in the futures markets for the last 5. And I just flipped that intro. This is At the Buzzer, our market recap. The goal of this segment is to review what happened in the markets for the day. We may talk about some markets that you have not traded before, but our goal as traders is to identify opportunity, see how we could have taken advantage of those opportunities while managing our risk. Match Trader Rick, I had a mixed session. I've been trading 2 different accounts. I've been trading a Topstep account and a personal account. Topstep account took a hit. Personal account was up on the day. So if I add them up, I was a scratch on the day. But it was a good trading day overall. Hopefully everybody else had a good day as well. Uh, Exceed R6 says I hated today. What about today did you hate? Right. Try to identify that first, and see if it's something that you could have avoided trading if you did. Right. Like I said, Coach Paul will join us in a few minutes. Not too much on the calendar today. We always have Fed speakers. I think the big stuff that we're waiting for as far as the news goes is earnings later in the week. In fact, the earnings calendar and the big one that I'm looking for is Tesla, which is reporting on the 23rd. We have some news later in the week as well. We have a Bank of uh, Canada rate decision tomorrow. We have crude oil inventories. Is that tomorrow? Nope, that's Wednesday. Bank of Canada rate decision Wednesday. Home sales Wednesday. Crude inventories Wednesday as well. We have jobless claims later in the week, uh, and some PMI numbers as well. So heavier news later in the week. That being said, we still got some really nice opportunity today in these markets. And Rose, this is live. You are live with us on At the Buzzer. Thank you for joining us. I got you, Coach. Don't worry. Coach Paul is back, but he knocked over his green screen, so I'll pull him in here in a minute. Um, let's get into the markets. So there are about 35 different markets that we can trade with Top accounts, not just the equities, crude oil, gold. A bunch of different markets that have been presenting a ton of opportunity to us. And look at the downside. To the downside, we have 30-year bonds down 1.46%. We have the Russell down 1.57% and Ultra bonds down 1.93% as our biggest percentage mover to the downside. To the upside, we have crude oil up 1.69%, silver up 2.33%, and nat gas, our biggest percentage mover to the upside, 3.14%. Really nice moves. Nat gas has been one of those top percentage movers a couple of times in the past couple of weeks. So hopefully some of us are paying attention there. And then I know Coach Paul will talk about the bonds a little bit because that was his probably best trade of the day. Um, we're seeing the bonds with a very nice sell-off over the past couple of weeks. I did check FedWatch before we got on here, and we're seeing a 87% probability of a 25 basis point cut on the next Fed meeting, which is November 7th. Um, which, if they're cutting rates, you would expect that the bonds are going up. But right now, rates are going up as well. And I hear you there, Coach. I'm going to bring you in. Let's see if we got him. There's the man. I'm going to crop this out a little bit. There you go. We got you. How we doing?
Monday. Hope everybody's well. Sorry for being
Happy.
a little late. I'll do my push-ups after the show.
It's all good, coach. All good. Welcome. We were just going over, the biggest percentage movers on the day. Nasdaq actually has a question in the chat. Well, more of a comment with a question mark after it. But the Fed is cutting and rates continue higher? Question mark. Right. So something is going on there, where there's a probability of a cut, but we see rates going up before that. What do you make of that, Coach? I know you trade the technicals. You told me before we got on here that you were short the bonds. Do you take any of that fundamental analysis into effect, or is it mostly a technical trade for you?
My position
Correct.
is technical. Um, and so, but the reasons why, I'm not trying to be a smartass here. There's more offers than bids. All right. So let's go up. I'm not, but why is that? Well, there's a huge debt deficit. There's a large amount of deficit spending that needs to come to market. It comes to market in treasuries. Um, so number two, my feeling is no one's going to take a big position in front of this election. And number three is it's not a demand for U.S. debt at this price, right?
Gotcha.
And so uh, that's if I wax fundamentally, that's what I think is going on. Is that really what's going on? I don't know, but I do know that the sellers are in control here, and I think it's getting a little extra push from bad longs. Really, I it is bad
Having to liquidate. I
having
mean,
to
if we
liquidate when they thought it was going to go the other way.
makes sense. Buy the rumor, sell the news, maybe.
Yeah.
Where I think since the rate cut that we got, we've been in a downtrend. Um, And if you look at this chart, right, this is the chart for the ultra bonds. Everyone, biggest percentage mover on the day, down 1.9%. Uh, it's just been in a very strong downtrend since October, right?
Well, there it is. There's the meeting. There's the expectation, and then there's reality.
So let's get into the charts. I'm going to pull up the equity charts. We're going to go four up with the equity charts. So give me a minute just to get those set up again. And we have a question while I do this from Paul H. Guys, how do you spot you have a directional bias before you hit your DLO?
Oh, my DLL is mine is 12% of my equity. So before I hit that, before I make the trade, I figure out how much I can afford to lose. And it should be less than my DLL. So I rarely, if ever, hit my DLL. If you're hitting your DLL, you probably have too big of a position. You got too much risk on. So that being a good question, you need to position size a little better, I would say.
What I would say to that, how do you identify your directional bias before you hit that? Uh, that's somewhat of a tough question, right? Because you could just be identifying trades that aren't working out. Um, what I would say is, for me, when I identify that I have a directional bias, it's when I am not making a case for the other side of the trade. Right? You'll hear me say it on fast markets all the time. I'll make a case for both sides, right? To the long side and the short side, and then just find which one the market is presenting to me and try to take that trade. If I come into the market, I'm saying, for me personally, right? If I'm saying this is a short, no matter what, and I don't even think about the case for the long side, that's probably a bias. And I'm usually biased to the short side, right? I think I see the markets better to the short side, but we know, especially with equity markets, they're meant to go up. So holding on to that bias too strong, especially in the markets that we had early on in the year uh, and kill an account. So it's important to know that if you have one by default, and determine whether or not it's affecting your trades.
Well, I'll give you an example. Today, I came in short on a day trade. Look, starting last night in the first half an hour. I've said this if you're new, I only take, well, I shouldn't say a very large majority of the time, I'm only taking one side of the market. And my directional bias is to sell it. Now, let's look at the bonds last night where they opened up.
Give me 1 second. I'll pull them back up.
So the first half an hour sets the tone for me. Now, with VWAP, now I'm setting it for VWAP to break that opening range to the downside. And it never did. But let's say that I did without VWAP and I said that you can't get over the high. How much that I usually risk two average true ranges in the bonds. That's, let's see, on the 30-minute, get the calculation right. At that time, my computer's only a little slow. Okay, I have it right here. The average true range was a little over 4. Let's call 5. 5 points. I 2 ATRs. I'm going to give it 10 points. $300. It never broke that. It never got that high. So if I sold right on the opening, it's 2002. My stop is 2012. The high was 06. So on one contract, excuse me, 10 points is $150. That's for one contract. You can do the multiples depending on the size of your account, but that's how directionally DLL I shouldn't hit. I won't allow it. But if my risk budget for the day allows $150, I'm taking that trade. I hope that helps. By the way, I did not expect it to break almost 2 full points, 62 points, 64 points almost. So um, that is how I completely, I don't want to get anywhere near 50% of my account ever. So that's the risk management that I use. And I hope that helps.
Thank you for that, Coach. That makes a lot of sense, right? Regardless of what the bias is, the risk is managed. And I know you, Coach, you probably take the same trade twice if it presents itself, but on that third time, it's maybe, hey, maybe this idea isn't working out. And I think by that third time, the information that you're looking for probably doesn't present itself, and then you leave that trade idea alone and go to the one that is working out. So thank you
Yeah.
for that.
One other thing is, let's say I wanted to buy it. I get, okay, 2 ATRs risk on a half hour. I lost 150. It's I avoided losing 1,000 because I was wrong. Okay, so I always look at both sides of the market. So that's a win. That's a good trade. It isn't a winning trade, but hey, I took the buy, but I limited my loss.
So, well, thank you for that, Coach Paul. Hopefully that answers your question. Uh, and let's go and pull up the four different equity markets. I traded the Russell today, which presented a really good trade, but we'll look at all four. Here's the ES on the top left, the NASDAQ on the top right. We have the Dow on the bottom right and the Russell on the bottom left. And let's look at the 30-minute opening range for each one of these markets. And just a reminder for everyone, follow your own trades, right? We're not always going to get it right. And even when we do, you'll hear the announcement on Topstep TV. It's for educational purposes only. Don't put any money or any trades on that you don't trust yourself. I don't care who says it. I know Dakota is a great trader, but if you follow Dakota, you might get worn out before you actually get a trade that goes in your favor, right? Remember, he has a 27% win rate right now on his run to the uh, top of the leaderboard, but Dakota is a different type of animal with risk management, and he'll take a bunch of small losing trades, right? So learn from all of us, but the learning should be in the interest of eventually taking your own trades, right, based on your own process. Um, Really nice sell off in the ES, coach, from this overnight
Mhm.
30-minute range. Seems like what's happening is Asia and London are having all the fun, and then they're leaving the scraps uh, for us in New York, where there were some decent opportunities, but the very clean trade was this overnight trade in a lot of these markets, right? Looking at the ES on the top left, the NASDAQ on the top right, we left that opening range fairly early. Volume lagged, but presented some opportunities to take shorts into the London session if you were awake trading it then. Um,
It's a great point, Coach, and I think it leans on part of what, and this is a theory, is that the outside the U.S., no one wants to touch the risk in front of this election, and it kind of from the flows of things that seems to be working with the theory. Um, I mean, that's just the evidence. Um, I'm not making a statement. I don't suggest you you and the coach, you said it perfectly. My job as a coach is to help you develop as a trader. I'm firmly of this opinion. You need to create your own plan that fits your personality.
100%.
Like I don't. So you said everybody wants to make the money like Coach Dakota, and he's really good. He loses 70% or greater of the times. He's really good at limiting his loss. And unless you have that personality, good luck replicating it.
Tough to do. Anyone ever see that movie? What was that? 50 First Dates, where the girl she just wakes up every day and forgets what happened. I feel like Dakota's like that 51st trades, right? Well, you'll see him take a trade, he loses, and he's just like, oh, I'm just gonna do that again, and he does it until it works, and he finds what works for him. But again, not everyone has that personality. I don't have that in me, right? I take a couple of losses and I need to sit out because I'm gonna force something. I'm either gonna force size or whatever it is. So I'm never going to try to trade like Dakota. He's not going to try to trade like me. We learn from each other, and I adapt certain things. I adapt certain things from Coach Paul, Coach Ray, Coach Vince, Hogue, all of us. But I ultimately have to trade like myself. And with that being said, today I traded in the Russell because it presented the best to me 3-minute opening range trade. Um, 3-minute opening range trade from the New York session. So we're going to go to the 3-minute chart on each of these markets. And if we look at the Russell, coach, it was just a clean break. I told Coach Paul I took this trade in my personal account. I've been trying to short the Russell since last week, Tuesday. Uh, we traded above 2300 on very low volume for a move above like a yearly uh, resistance. There was a higher time frame resistance. We traded above 2300. I'm looking at the volume on a day by day basis. and it just didn't look very convincing. Maybe I should have took it as a swing trade because ultimately it played out. But this week, when we came into the week, we traded above 2,300 in the uh, overnight session, and there were no buyers above 2,300. That kind of convinced me that this was going to be a decent sell. We can see the 30-minute opening range, price left the range, volume left as well. And then by the time we got to New York, and where most of the volume comes in for the Russell, it was 3 minutes opening range established. On the next 3 minutes, volume was leaving the range. This to me is just get in short, probably risk, if not 50% of the range, the entire range, but then allow this to work. I did tell Coach Paul I kind of short armed this trade. In hindsight, for a day trade perspective, it didn't really tell me to get out. We stayed under that VWAP the entire time. But I think getting kind of burned or scratch on some of the trades that I took last week, I was expecting potentially a bounce at 2270. So I took the trade off there. Obviously, we can see 2270 didn't mean anything to anyone but me. Um, and we continued to sell off down to 2250. So for me, this one is have an idea of where you think the market can go, and manage the trades accordingly. If I could execute this one a little bit differently, I would have taken, I was in a 3 contract short, I would have taken 2 off at where I thought the market was going to bounce and then left a runner and trailed. But that's hindsight. Still a good setup and one of the cleanest setups for the morning, in my opinion.
And one thing that I have to adjust to is I like to swing trade. That's my natural place. Day trading is different. There's different parameters. So, like you said, you had 3 on. If you had to look at it differently, take 2 off. You're playing with house money.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. Now, with that said, there's nothing. We don't know the future. If you do, you're better
Send
than
my
me.
I'll put my email in the in the chat if you know the
It-
future. Um,
so, taking money off the table on a day trade, it was probably 2 to 1 risk reward. Um, and that's where I have to get better at is being happy to take 2 to 1. Um, because that's what the market gives you over time if you're right.
Absolutely. We had the NASDAQ and the S&Ps kind of doing the exact opposite. We'll look at the NASDAQ chart for this, because I want to look at this rejection that the NASDAQ had up at the highs. Um, almost the opposite in the NASDAQ. Didn't happen as quickly, but we did get a nice break of the opening range. Volume took a little while to leave that range, and then when we got up to 20,550, pretty nice rejection. I know Nick Fortick caught that short. I really liked that trade, and took it in a couple of micros and not in minis. But I really like this trade for a reason. Give me 1 second. We'll pull up the volume indicator on here. So we had the volume we had this sell off last week, and looking at this 3 minute candle here, which was an opening range from last week, the 17th. That was Thursday. Uh, but I'm pointing that candle out because it was high volume. Uh, we checked right up to 50% of that, coach, and rejected off of it when Nick got into that short. And if we look at it, right, we talked about this before, but the market pushing up on lower volume, we made 100, basically 150-point move to the upside on fairly low volume, right? As soon as we start moving to the downside, we see that volume start to pick up. And again, I'm not seeing convinced buyers in these markets. And like you said, who wants to take the risk potentially before, and it's just a hypothesis, but who wants to take the risk before the election? Um, I've just been seeing more momentum to the downside on some of these moves. Um, and this 200-point sell-off happened very quick in the NASDAQ. It was 45 minutes and we're down 200 points.
And you know what? This is light volume. So if light volume is large institutions are not participating. If they were, we wouldn't have light volume. N- So in working with Coach Jay for last year, I mean, there were as I've said before, I struggled with volume and understanding how light volume in this market is really important because I don't there's not going to be much follow through most likely, or you have to tighten up your expectations. So on this one, nice breakout, and at one point looks like, oh, I'm going to have it's the day of my life.
Looked like it.
Right? But
It
getting
looked like
back
it.
under VWAP and to be disciplined to go, okay, I was up a lot more than I am now, but I need to get out, even if it's
Every
a scratch.
right.
Um, but in day trading, I haven't have come to this conclusion yet, but I'm starting to really go towards it. 2-to-1 trades are great trades. 2-to-1 risk reward, and that one, if you got it that quick, go home.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Just a really nice sell off, and then we see what happens, right? This is just to me the perfect example of markets are meant to go up. We had a 200-point sell off in 45 minutes, and then the rest of the day, it felt very slow. But look at what we did the rest of the day. Retrace that entire move on low volume and just kind of floated upwards, right? So now going into tomorrow, I'm looking at this 2550 area where we rejected today to see whether or not, we just made lows on the week and does the market just continue to trend up? We'll go back to the 30-minute chart, coach, and I'll go back to the 4 up so we can look at the moving averages for all these markets. The Russell, where it sold off, was right at that 200 moving average, which is the white line. The Dow did the same thing, rejecting under that 200 moving average. Actually, hold on. These are 3-minute charts. I'm going to get better at navigating this 4 chart
I
layup.
do that all the time. That ghost, whatever that is, yeah, it follows me all the time.
So we had the sell off in the Russell under that 200 moving average. Really nice sell from there. Again, the Russell is the bottom left on these charts. We have the S&Ps trading above the 200 moving average on the 30-minute, right? We sold off under it to start this morning and then popped right back above it. The NASDAQ above the 200 moving average as well, and looking like it wants to trend higher, but again, we need the volume to do so. And then the Dow, which has been above this 200 moving average on the bottom right here. 200 moving average is the white line on all these charts. The Dow selling off and closing under the 200 moving average for the first time in a long time. Again, the Dow is also a market that has been making all-time highs. Maybe a little bit of profit taking that we're seeing here.
Yeah, I found that very interesting today that it was the strongest because how long has it been? At least a month where it's been the weakest. I mean, the NASDAQ has been the weakest and the Dow has been the strongest. Um, could be an unwinding of a larger investment. I don't know, but it was very interesting because the NASDAQ on a 30-minute was on both sides of the 200, but as we noticed, the Russell and the Dow were not.
And if I look at the Russell, let me make sure I had this right. Yeah, the Russell is trading not near, well, the yearly high on the Russell is 2341. We were trading above 2300 last week, but if we can see, look at the difference in the volume, and obviously July was a crazy month. But again, we're making highs on decreasing volume. So to me, that just tells me to short it. And again, I probably should have took it on a swing trade instead, but it is what it is. Anything else on the equities, coach, before we move on?
Nothing else to add. My expectations are reined in. Like I said, 2 ATRs on a day trade, and be happy to have it.
Awesome. Uh, let move to the energies. Actually, let's go to the metals. Let's go to the metals. Gold, silver, copper, platinum. Gold on the top left, silver on the top right, copper on the bottom left, and platinum on the bottom right. Uh, Look at 30-minute charts for all of those. And same idea, right? Gold, we've seen it above that 200 moving average on the 30-minute chart, coach. Making new all-time highs again today, 27, 55, 40 new all-time highs in gold. Uh, and coach, it did it again.
It's very good at that. As we've talked, if you're long and it hits all-time highs, take the money and run. It seems to me you know, there's longs that are just putting supply into the market or taking profit, whatever you have. Um, and it's usually pretty quick. Well, I mean, it doesn't give you time to hesitate. Either you're if you hesitate and you're long, you might just hold on too long. But it's like almost every day we see this. Um, and it
They do
probably
it when it hits a major, right? It hits a 2750, a 2700, 2650. Uh, and it
that's
just
a good point.
2755, we made a high, buyers stopped and they said, "All right, that's enough to pay for." Uh,
And it was, if you're trading it a day and it's that much higher, what are the probabilities? So at 27.55, it was up 20, almost $20. I
much
is
more
that a
room is left.
place? Is that a place to get long? I would say the probabilities say definitely not. Um, because these are at all-time highs. You're going to find some sellers. Profit. I to me that's more profit taking than anyone else because that's kind of an excuse. Oh, it's profit taking. Well, in that point, yeah, it probably is because at all-time highs, you're going to draw some selling in.
Sure.
Um, so you know what's interesting? If I would do, and I give this to you, Coach. At today, every half an hour bar where it made an all-time high, I would put a VWAP in, and if it gets under VWAP, I'm selling it.
Good point.
Because you don't know which one it's going to be. Just well, we don't know. But my feeling is that when every time it makes a new all-time high, it's going to stay above VWAP until that one it doesn't, and then it's going to collapse. Um, so what? This is the half hour.
Yep, this is a half hour. Uh, I just put the link to the Top Step daily levels in
Yeah.
the chat. Not sure if anyone takes a look at those. I would highly suggest doing so. If I'm looking at zone one for gold today, and again, these are levels that our coaches are putting in there. I probably put mine in the latest. I'm usually finishing my levels around 7:30, 8 a.m. Eastern time, but I know Coach Paul, Coach Ray, Coach Vince get their levels in there very early. I'm looking at zone one in gold. If you guys want to click on that link real quick, 2750 average daily range high from Coach Ray, 2755 resistance 2 from Coach Paul, 2757.80 average session range high from Coach Ray. Coach Hogue, 2760 weekly kickoff high. I'm looking at 2765 as a daily ATR high from the time that I measured it. Um, Now, again, these are not suggestions to take trades, but areas of opportunity that we think the market can trade to. Some of them are going to act like targets. Some of them are going to act as, potential areas to take trades off of. Right now, for me, the way I look at these daily levels, I'm adding to them. But when I put on a level and JD puts this site together, I look at it to see where the other coaches are looking as well, and we're usually all looking in similar spots. And then I have to try to figure out how I apply that to my trades, right? I'm a volume momentum trader. So if I see Coach Paul has, a daily resistance level, and I'm trading that market, I'm watching the order flow as we get to that daily resistance because he's looking there for a reason. And we've seen a lot of times that the market responds to these. You guys know how great Hoag's levels are. This weekly kickoff high. Um, I'm looking for the test of that at some point. So check those levels out if you don't already have it as part of your process. Again, not a suggestion to take a trade, but um, maybe I'm biased, but I think we're pretty good at what we do, Coach.
I love when there's a cluster. If
Yes.
there's a cluster and it's at, it's, it's a trade for me, and I'll do. I do a micro just based on that. I'm taking it.
Yep.
Then I put on a VWAP. That's why I came up with this thing with gold, and then attach it to the one as the latest one. And we get under that VWAP, I'm taking just a small trade. And in testing it, I will I'll see if I find a pattern, and I'll do it more. Do it with more size. But gold, and we've been talking about this. I want to buy. By the way, I want to buy it. I'm a buyer. To me, that level was a profit taking, and I had. By the way, if you're not trading micro gold, you should.
Market.
It's a great market. So I just got out. I got in late, but when I saw that, I got out, and I was so glad because I've been hesitating in gold, and it has not paid me. When I saw that level two resistance, and I saw uh, Coach Ray's, Coach Vince, and the weekly kickoff level a little higher, I'm like, I'm out. And actually, I didn't look at it for the rest of the day until just now. I'm like, wow, maybe I'm short arming that, but that was quick. Like I said, you don't hesitate to get out.
Really not. Really nice sell off there in gold. Again, making new all time highs, 27.55. But pulling some of the other metal markets with it. We saw that run that silver had uh, last week. 6% move to the upside in silver on Friday. A little bit of consolidation. Markets are not going to run like. Actually, I should not say that. Um, but
You have
markets
a low
tend.
probability.
Exactly. Markets have a low probability of continuing a move like that before we see some type of basing or consolidation. Um, Army Kent, you're all right. Uh, but some consolidation, a pullback in silver, not too much of a move. We did see uh, copper has been a really nice market today as well. I know Deanna has been trading copper often.
Yeah,
So
Deanna
go ahead,
has a
coach.
unfair advantage. She, Coach Deanna has an unfair advantage. She's in London.
All right.
It's all happening in Europe. Yeah.
All the fun happens in London. Yeah, I've tried to, just wake up and trade it, but I'm so like still waking up at that time. It's tough, but they've been presenting some really really great trades, um, and we can see it again in copper, presenting a really nice opportunity to get into a short. But uh, also, by the time the New York session started, the same way gold did, we did get some opportunity to sell copper as well. If you were looking there. Um, and platinum as well. Platinum has been in this kind of slow uptrend as well. Checking that 200 moving average. If I had something on my scouting report right now, coach, it would be platinum. Looking for an opportunity near this 200 moving average to take a long. Uh, Going to see how the market opens up at 6 p.m. Eastern. But I like the way platinum has been responding to that 200 moving average. Again, nothing we say here is suggestions to take a trade, just information, educational purposes only.
You've
Anything else?
taken your Series 3.
Yeah, I didn't pass it, but
Because
I will.
I know you will, but you understand like, when you say that,
Oh yeah.
and it's true. We're not. This is not. This is educational. So
And look, you don't want to follow me. Big red number up here today. So If I say something, there's a potential that I get it wrong. So don't follow my trades. I can't choose which ones are going to work and which ones don't. But I'm going to trade what I see. Anything else on the metals, coach? I'm going to move over to the energies.
Let's go to the energies.
Let's go to the
I'm good on
energies.
the metals.
I got nat gas on the top left. Oh wow, look at that.
Percentage gain or a loser every day.
S-
Well, we said we've meandered from that. It's a great, great market. I
s-
just I love the natural gas.
I got nat gas and
So
crude oil.
let's
Let's
get
just do
to it.
those two. Let's just do nat gas, crude oil. Um, 30-minute charts on both of these, coach. Nat gas. This is something that I don't think we've talked about on YouTube since we've been on here, coach, but you pointed this out when we were in Discord, this kind of opening gap in nat gas, this Sunday gap. Remember that?
Mhm. Yeah, oh, yeah. Go ahead, coach.
Y-
I wanna this is beautiful.
Yeah, a really, really beautiful trade. We gapped down to open the markets. And if you look at nat gas charts, it does this a lot on Sundays. And now it's up to us to determine whether or not or how the market is going to trade here. Um, you know, and again, thanks to Coach Paul framing out this 30-minute opening candle, seeing where VWAP, um, how volume trades around it. Volume leaves the range pretty early. We close the gap. We can't trade lower, and just a really nice trend up towards that white line.
We're actually making new highs as we speak in
Are we
natural
really?
gas.
Man.
Yeah. And then with
Um,
that one, that was clean. I did take it on a mini. By the way, the mini is 1/4 the size.
nice.
Um, but that was a classic Sunday night gap, and it could most likely. By the way, it could go the other way. And once again, uh, my mantra, I had to do this because I was trained as an economist. All I have to do is figure out all the variables and the fundamentals, and I'll know where the market's going. There's some dead accounts that that I had that followed that, but just looking at that first half an hour, slap on a VWAP, see where it comes out of the range, know your risk. If you can't take the full account, what is it on a big one? What was it? 1,000? It wasn't 1,000. I know it was like
It was a little less.
$500.
Yeah, it was about $500 if you're risking the whole range.
If you're risking the whole range, a quarter of that 125 returns 2 to 1. I can't, 2 to 1, 250. If someone handed you $250 today, you would feel a very lucky person. But this is not so lucky. You had to take some risk. You know, it really comes down to it. Don't fool yourself. You're new into this. Oh, look at that! I'll just do that, and
Buy it here.
please always frame out your risk. I'm gonna go back today. I mentioned my favorite coach of all time, John Wooden,
Nice.
because he not only developed some of the greatest players in the history of the NBA, but great human beings who went on to become very successful and people. And he had this saying is, which I didn't understand when I first heard it, is be quick, but don't hurry. So I'm gonna. Well, what does that mean in trading? I'm looking for that trade. Okay, I'm gonna put it on with no regard for risk, and then I just put it on and expect it to happen. And I don't frame out my risk. I don't put in a stop. I just make a trade. I'm in a hurry. I don't know about you, coach. Every time I'm in a hurry,
Every time.
I get caught in a trap. And it's
Every time.
so important in trading. It's so important. We just it's literally fear of missing out. I gotta get in now. If I don't get in, they're gonna leave without me. They don't care about your one lot, right? Or two lot, whatever. I and that's the beauty. They shouldn't, because if I'm risking right and I'm managing right, they, I shouldn't be changing the market. But
Yeah.
being in a hurry is is a very negative habit in trading. If you can't frame out the risk and you're not comfortable putting in a stop, then you're in a hurry. So you have plenty of time to get the good trades on. They just don't go without you.
And I know most of our traders are probably trading during the New York session. I know we do have people who are putting in trades overnight. So let's look at, if there was the potential to day trade this, and how that would have worked. Uh, Again, these moving averages on any time frame. Here's a shorter time frame. It's a 3-minute chart. What's that white line? Uh, you can use it
I'm-
for a day trade as well.
it's one more than 199. I know that.
Here is the open, if you will, for nat gas. That's 9 a.m. Eastern time, 8 a.m. Central. We can see on the volume chart that that is where the volume spike happened on the day. So we're going to call that the open. And if I anchor a view up there, they did present an opportunity to get into a trade that was already up from the open about 2%, right? A lot of times we'll look at markets like this and say, oh, well, it left without me. There's no opportunity for me. Maybe you were trading it, before this, uh, where we had a decent sell off, but there's an opportunity here during the New York session, waiting for volume to come in, taking a potential trade here. Um, if you were short into this VWAP, really nice trade. How would you manage this, coach? If you got in short up here, the trade goes under VWAP and pops back up, would you get out?
Yeah, hands down. Well,
Yeah.
and I would tell you, if you got into that trade there on a day trade, it
When you did your
that's
job.
kind of what did your job. If 2 to 1, and if I excuse me, two contracts on, I get out of one, but I definitely get flat above it. I'm
Makes
definitely.
sense. Yeah, that makes
Um,
sense.
because rarely the market doesn't give you a second chance trade. That's like asking for a reset. Well, wait, I didn't mean it. Well, that's never. But why I said, if you sold that for whatever, and you got 2 to 1, and you had two, that's why micros come into play even more. You can, with a micro, you can be more dynamic in your trade, taking one off at 2 to 1, putting in a stop at unchanged, and looking for a runner, playing with house money. Um, so, but if I'm just one, done. Matter of fact, it hits at VWAP, I'm done.
Makes sense. We had crude oil. We did have some house account trades in crude oil. I know the first trade they took was long, pretty much right on the open of the New York session, 69.99. They were in long, 5 contracts, had the market going in their favor, but crude has been either extremely consolidated or we get a random spike in a direction and then back to a consolidation. A lot of the same today. We did close near the 200 moving average, and it looks like we're trying to build a base above it, but not really a market that I'm looking to trade right now, coach.
Uh,
We could move on from here. And again, that's guys. It's part of the reason we're bringing up other markets, right? We might have some energy traders in here, and you might be struggling in crude to find an opportunity. Look at that gas presenting very clean trades, where crude may be presenting clean trades for range bound traders. I'll say it that way.
yeah, crude has just been hard. I mean, hard. What was Deanna? She's a crude trader. She's kind of backed off a little bit, if I'm not mistaken. Um, it's still there, but even if you're fading, the ranges are small. The volatility is small. Um, I just I lost my $150 in there, and I'm glad I didn't get back in. That's all I'm gonna say. But I have no shame in losing $150 there. I felt really good about it.
Absolutely. We got comment here. Using price pivot levels is much more accurate than using moving averages since you were teaching. Johnny, I agree with you. Coach Paul's levels, and these are the levels that I mentioned uh, on those Top Step Daily levels page. Coach Paul, I know you bring up pivot levels a lot. So if you guys are looking at the levels that Coach Paul provides, those are all pivots um, and really great. I wouldn't. Go ahead, Coach.
Uh, and I would, one of the things with the pivot, it's a little different than a 50% retracement because it's adding the high, the low, and the settlement. You add them up, divide them by three. It's a little more dynamic than just a Fibonacci level. And I'm not putting either one down, but as an observation, I'm glad someone brought that up. That pivot, if you're far away from the pivot and VWAP is far away, start observing. There are trades in there. Um, that I think that can help you. Um, so I'm glad someone's watching that pivot because it means a lot to certain types of traders. Um, like today's, what was today's pivot? I have it here in the crude.
While you pull that up, Coach, we got a question from Michael. Can you explain the meaning of a pivot? But yeah, and if you can pull up the pivot in crude.
All right, today's pivot in crude was 69.18, and we what I'm saying, if I'm short and it gets above the pivot and VWAP is above it, I'm out. If I want to buy it and I only take one side and they're both below it, I'm not buying it. Um, so what is it? Think of a pivot. I think of it is a turnaround, right? And a door. In sports, pivot away from pressure. Um, it's a swing point. Um, and the best way again is for your personal, start watching, just observing where the pivot is and where you're at, whether you want to buy or sell. That I can't say that is really because that's really what will help you. For me to say you got to buy it above the pivot and sell it below on the pivot, I don't believe that's going to help you personally. But I will tell you this: that pivot is going to give you some value, as especially at on the opening and using VWAP along with it. But remember this: it's taking the previous day's range, adding up. So you add the high and the low and the settlement and divide by three. Um, if there's a large range, you're going to see the pivot if we're far away. Just start observing it, and I'll start bringing it up on charts sometime this week, and then we can all observe together.
Awesome. Thank you, Coach. And we will go to how much time we got? We got 5 minutes left. Anything on your scouting report that you're looking for going into tomorrow, the rest of the week?
Um, boy, I want to say Japanese yen, but it's selling the Japanese yen.
There you go.
I I
Okay.
I choked out. I'm choking on it. It's put psychosomatic. I sold it earlier, and I ate like a mouse.
I mean,
Yeah,
wow.
there's
So
yeah.
I looked
I'm in shame there.
I looked at the yen last night. The same way I looked through kind of every chart, just guys on Sunday nights, usually any night, I just pull up pretty much every chart and see which one is presenting an opportunity. And I saw the yen rejecting at whatever this level was up here. and it turned out to be a 30-minute opening range from some day prior. But we can see VWAP attached to that range is still to the downside. So any tests of this, you can trade them the same way. And I saw this and I was just like, it looks like a really good trade, really good short. I didn't take it, but yeah, really nice opportunity there, coach.
And
Uh,
and as we've said, the Japanese yen is tied to the 10-year
Right.
short, the 10-year note. I was okay. I
Same
shouldn't
chart.
be ashamed. It's the same. I was short the 10-year. Um,
Nice.
I would have felt better about myself if I would have kept my short yen. But hey, I don't know the future. I got. By the way, I need to get better too.
So
I mean, um, holding trades better. Um, I also need to cut my. I wouldn't say cut losses. Put on more trades. Well, because I trade many different markets, and sometimes I might have two or three losers in a row, and then I'm hesitant to put the next trade on. And I understand that if in a system of probabilities that a loser the before the next trade, if I had a loser before, it has no relationship to the
that's
next
the next
trade.
one. Makes sense.
So that's where I need to get better. And I think I did that with the yen.
Awesome.
Because the crude oil, I had a loser before, and I'm like, well, I'm short the 10-year. I'm kind of maybe I was
Balance it out.
satisfied. I, yeah, but maybe I'm not assertive enough. So yeah, I need to improve.
Multiple ways to do this. Everyone will figure out what works for them, and figure out where you need to improve. Uh, and all we can do, all we can do in managing our risk. What's on my scouting report? Platinum, near that 200 moving average. And that's about it. I did see someone mention they traded lean hogs today, or cattle. Which one was it, cattle or hogs? Whichever one it was, it presented a decent opportunity as well. Again, guys, we're not mentioning all these markets for everyone to trade every single one of them, but a lot of times we talk to traders, especially newer traders who are struggling in the markets that they're trading, and there may be easier opportunities out there, right? So just bringing awareness to them. Of course, we're going to focus on the major four that we trade at Topstep, but truly, I think if you can apply some type of technical analysis to a playbook and what you're looking for, you can apply that to any chart. Regardless of what it is. And of course, you need to know, the tick value of that market, what news may affect it, and things like that. But I do believe a chart is a chart, and you should be able to trade most of them. Um,
Is that
Anything before we
Coach
go?
Hoops with the hog trade?
Someone in here traded hog. I think it was Paul H, the
Oh,
other Paul, who I'll
wow.
be on
Good
Topstep
on
TV
you.
with on Thursday. Um, Shout out to Paul. I love the segment that you were on last week with Topstep TV. Coach, you got anything before we go? I'm gonna look at my notes, make sure I'm not missing anything.
I just see that Bob R put out to you. You look at daily, weekly, and monthly pivots. I put out the daily. It's on Top Step Daily Levels, and I want to say, you know what? I'm gonna start doing the weekly and the monthly. So
Nice.
if I do, I'll put them out for you.
Thank you for that, Coach. I appreciate that. I think we have some viewers that might appreciate that as well. Let's see. Alex Ferreira, gold medalist and Top Step partner, will be live tomorrow, 10:30 Central Time on Top Step TV. If you haven't heard, MP's very excited about this one. I believe Alex is a gold medalist, either I think a snowboarder, gold medalist snowboarder. Um, Got into trading. Is sponsored by Top Step. I've seen some pictures with Top Step stickers on his helmet, which is pretty cool. Being able to see that for the Winter Olympics coming up. Uh, Alex will be on Topstep TV tomorrow, trading NASDAQ and gold. He is a funded trader with Topstep. And then we have funded trader and Traders Canada reality TV star Aaron Ellis joining us Thursday. Um, Outside of that, make sure you join all of the segments in Discord when you get a chance to. Great coaches giving classes in there as well. Coach Hoop at 4:30 Central Time, Coach Ray at 6 p.m., Coach Vince at 7, and of course we have Dakota on slow markets at 7:30, and Deanna with the London Open at 3:30 a.m. Central Time. Uh, all of us are doing this because we want to help traders with their trading journey, and hopefully these segments are. So if they are, make sure you hit that like button before we leave today. And I think that's all I got. We don't have any big news before the market opens tomorrow, Coach. So I don't think we have anything to worry about there. Trade the markets that are presenting themselves to you. Trade the opportunities that present themselves to you. Make sure you manage risk. Most importantly,
Most importantly, have a good night.
have a great night, everyone. We will talk to you all tomorrow. Thanks. Bye.
Bye.